The great council chamber fell silent as Commander Zaktha stepped forward. His green scales caught the light from the crystal dome above. The reptilian officer had fought in 3 wars and seen the rise of 12 civilizations. But today, fear showed in his yellow eyes. "We have a problem," he said to the 47 species gathered in the room. "The humans are moving again." A wave of nervous whispers spread through the chamber. The word human still made many aliens uncomfortable, even after 50 years of peace. At the far end of the room, Dr. Luna Vex floated in her energy field. Her translucent body glowed with worry. "What kind of movement?" asked Admiral Crix. The insect-like creature clicked his mandibles together. As head of the Mantari fleet, he had patrolled the edges of known space for decades. He knew the danger zones better than anyone. Zaktha activated the holographic display. A 3-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared in the center of the room. Most of it glowed blue, showing the territories of the Galactic Confederation. But, at the edge, a large section pulsed red. Human space. "Our sensors detected massive energy surges along their border 3 days ago," Zaktha explained. "The readings were unlike anything we've seen before. Whatever they're building in there, it's big." The chamber erupted in concerned chatter. Species that had never agreed on anything suddenly found common ground in their fear of humanity. The Saurians hissed. The Mentari buzzed. The energy beings of Vex's people flickered with anxiety. "Order, order," called the council speaker, a tall being covered in silver fur. "Dr. Vex, you've been studying human transmissions for 20 years. What do you make of this?" Dr. Vex drifted closer to the display. Her voice carried across the room like music, but her words were dark. "I've been monitoring their communications, their entertainment, their news. What I've learned should terrify us all." She touched the hologram, and it zoomed in on the red zone. "They call themselves humanity, but they're not the same species. That first left their homeworld. They've changed, evolved, in ways we can't understand." "Explain," demanded Admiral Crix. "In the past 50 years, they've had no contact with other species, no trade, no cultural exchange. Yet their technology has advanced faster than any civilization in galactic history. They speak of things they call impossible, as if they were simple problems to solve." Dr. Vex manipulated the display, showing waves of energy flowing through human space. "But it's not just their machines that have changed. Their people have too. I've intercepted training videos, medical reports, psychological profiles. What they consider a normal human today would have been their greatest warrior 50 years ago." "That's impossible," said the council speaker. "Evolution doesn't work that fast." "Natural evolution doesn't," Dr. Vex replied. "But humans don't believe in natural limits." The room fell quiet again. Everyone knew the stories. How humans had appeared in the galaxy 200 years ago with primitive ships and simple weapons. How they had fought everyone they met, not out of evil, but because they didn't know how to surrender. How they had turned every defeat into a learning experience and every victory into a stepping stone. "We offered them membership in the Confederation," said one of the older council members. "They refused, said they needed time to figure things out. That was 50 years ago." "And now?" asked Admiral Crix. Zaktha changed the display again. This time it showed a timeline of human activity over the past decades. For the first 20 years, we detected normal signs of civilization, cities growing, ships moving between their worlds, standard development patterns. The timeline shifted. Then something changed. About 30 years ago, the patterns became different, more organized, more purposeful, as if their entire civilization was working toward a single goal. "What goal?" several voices asked at once. "We don't know," Zaktha admitted. "But whatever it is, they're close to finishing it. The energy signatures we detected 3 days ago suggest they're activating something. Something big enough to power an entire star system." Dr. Vex floated higher, her glow dimming with worry. "There's something else. In their entertainment programs, they have stories about creatures called monsters. But in these stories, the monsters aren't evil. They're just different. And humans always find a way to understand them, to help them. or to stop them if they can't be helped. What does that mean? Asked the council speaker. I think it means they see themselves as the monsters now, and they're deciding what to do about it. Admiral Crick stood up, his 6 legs clicking on the floor. Then we need to know what we're dealing with. I volunteer my stealth fleet for reconnaissance. We can observe from a distance, gather intelligence, report back. Absolutely not, said several council members at once. The Treaty of Cosmic Peace specifically forbids entering human space, reminded the council speaker. The treaty also requires us to protect Confederation members from external threats, Admiral Crix countered. If humans have become dangerous, we need to know. Dr. Vex drifted between them. I support Admiral Crix's proposal, but we must be careful, very careful. Humans have a saying, curiosity killed the cat. I fear we may be the cat in this situation. The debate continued for hours. Some wanted to contact humans directly. Others wanted to reinforce the border. A few suggested they should try to make peace before it was too late. In the end, they voted. It was close, but Admiral Crix got his mission. Take your best ships, ordered the council speaker. Stay outside their sensor range, observe only. No contact, no interference, and if you see anything that suggests immediate danger, you retreat immediately. Admiral Crix bowed his head. Understood. We launch at first light. As the council session ended, Dr. Vex approached the Admiral. Be careful, old friend. I've spent decades studying humans. The more I learn about them, the more I realize we never really understood what they were capable of. What do you think we'll find out there? He asked. Dr. Vex's glow flickered like a dying star. I think we'll find out why no one dares cross into human space. And I think we'll discover that maybe, just maybe, that's been protecting us all along. That night, as Admiral Crix prepared his fleet, he couldn't shake Dr. Vex's words. 50 years ago, humans had been the newcomers, the primitive species that everyone looked down on. Now they were the unknown factor that kept the galaxy's most advanced civilizations awake at night. Tomorrow, he would find out why. His ships launched, in the pre-dawn darkness, sleek vessels designed for stealth and observation. As they crossed into the outer reaches of space, heading toward the red zone on every star chart, Admiral Crix wondered if they were making the biggest mistake in galactic history. Behind them, the lights of Confederation space grew smaller. Ahead, the darkness of human territory waited. And somewhere in that darkness, something massive was stirring to life. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started. The hot liquid spilled across his desk as he jumped up, but he ignored the mess. In the 3 years he had commanded the deep space station Cerberus, the proximity, alarms had never gone off. Report, he shouted as he ran onto the bridge. Lieutenant Amy Chen turned from her communications console, her face pale. Sir, we have multiple contacts approaching from Confederation space. Computer identifies them as Mantari stealth vessels. Morrison felt his blood turn cold. The Mantari were the galaxy's best scouts. If they were here, it meant the Confederation was finally making a move. He had hoped this day would never come. How many ships? He asked. 12, sir. They're trying to stay hidden, but our new sensor array picked them up 2 light years out. Morrison nodded grimly. The sensor array was part of the improvements they had made to all human outposts over the past decade. The aliens had no idea how far human technology had advanced. Time to intercept? At current speed, they'll reach our outer perimeter in 6 hours. Morrison walked to the center of the bridge. Around him, his crew waited for orders. These weren't just any humans. Each person on Cerberus had been selected for this mission. They knew what might happen if aliens ever came looking. Activate Protocol 7, Morrison said quietly. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what Protocol 7 meant. It was the procedure they hoped they would never have to use. Dr. Paul Martinez looked up from his psychology station. Sir, are you sure? Once we activate Protocol 7, there's no going back. The decision was made 50 years ago, Doc. We're just following orders. Lieutenant Chen's hands flew over her controls. Protocol 7 activated, sir. All human stations are responding. The network is coming online. Morrison felt a familiar weight settle on his shoulders. For 3 years, he had been the guardian of humanity's greatest secret. Today, he would have to reveal part of it. Chen, open a channel to the approaching vessels. Use their language. Channel open, sir. Morrison took a deep breath. Mantari, vessels, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Human Space Force. You are entering restricted territory. Turn back now. The response came quickly. A clicking, buzzing voice filled the bridge. Human vessel, this is Admiral Crix of the Confederation Fleet. We come in peace. We wish only to observe. Morrison almost smiled. The aliens thought they were being clever. They had no idea that humans had been monitoring Confederation communications for decades. They knew about the council meeting. They knew about Dr. Vex's research. They knew exactly why the aliens were here. Admiral Crix, Morrison replied, you are not welcome here. Turn back now, or face the consequences. Chief Petty Officer Lisa Kane stepped forward. Morrison had requested her transfer to Cerberus specifically for her background. Before joining the Space Force, she had been part of something the aliens would never understand. Sir, she said quietly, should I prep the demonstration? Morrison nodded. Do it. Kane moved to her station and began entering. Commands. Around the bridge, displays lit up showing the positions of every human outpost, ship, and installation within 100 light-years. The aliens were about to get their first real look at what human space had become. On the Mantari flagship, Admiral Crick studied the energy readings his sensors were detecting. When the human had activated something called Protocol 7, massive power sources had begun coming online throughout human territory. Science officer, he called. What are those? Energy signatures? The response worried him. Admiral, I'm reading power levels that should be impossible. These aren't just defensive installations, there's something else entirely. Weapons? Crix asked. I don't know, sir. The energy patterns don't match anything in our database. On Cerberus, Dr. Martinez was running psychological profiles on the alien fleet. His job was to understand how different species thought, how they reacted to stress, and how they made decisions under pressure. Captain, he said, based on Mantari psychology, they're probably confused right now. Their stealth technology isn't working, and they're detecting energy sources they can't identify. They'll try to gather more information before deciding whether to advance or retreat. Morrison nodded. How long do we give them? Mantari are cautious by nature. They'll want to report back to their superiors before taking any major action. I'd say we have maybe an hour before they make their move. Lieutenant Chen looked up from her station. Sir, I'm detecting communication bursts from their flagship. They're sending reports back to Confederation space. Let them, Morrison said. In fact, make sure they get a clear signal. The bridge crew looked surprised, but they followed orders. If the aliens wanted to tell their leaders what they were seeing, that was fine. It was all part of the plan. On the Mantari ship, Admiral Crix was becoming more nervous by the minute. His science officer had just reported something that should have been impossible. Admiral, the human installations aren't just defensive. They're integrated. The entire human territory appears to be connected by some kind of network. When one station activates, they all respond. What does that mean? Crix asked. It means human space isn't just defended by individual outposts. The entire region has been turned into a single, massive system. Crix felt his confidence wavering. The Confederation had sent him to observe a primitive species that had isolated itself from galactic civilization. Instead, he was looking at technology that made his advanced stealth ship seem like children's toys. Admiral, his communications officer called. We're receiving another transmission from the human station. Morrison's voice filled the Mantari bridge again. Admiral Crix, you have 5 minutes to begin your withdrawal. After that, we will consider your presence an act of aggression. Crix wanted to respond, but his science officer interrupted with more disturbing news. Sir, I'm reading massive power buildups throughout human space. Whatever they're doing, it's big. Really big. How big? Admiral, if these readings are correct, they have enough power online to to affect the fabric of space itself. The implications hit Crix like a physical blow. The humans weren't just defending their territory. They had turned their entire region of space into something unprecedented. "Admiral," came Morrison's final transmission. "Your time is up. You wanted to see what we've become. Congratulations, you're about to get your wish." The human station suddenly went dark. All energy signatures vanished from Crix's sensors. The space around them became eerily quiet. Then slowly, something began to happen. The stars themselves seemed to shift. Space twisted in ways that violated every law of physics Crix knew. And in the center of it all, human space began to glow with an impossible light. Admiral Crix realized with growing horror that they weren't just observing humans anymore. They were trapped in whatever the humans had built. And based on the energy readings now flooding his sensors, the humans had just activated something that could reshape reality itself. The last thing he heard before his communications went dead was Captain Morrison's voice, calm and terrifying in its certainty. "You wanted to know why no one dares cross into human space, Admiral? Now you're going to find out firsthand. Welcome to humanity's greatest achievement. We call it evolution." Admiral Crix watched in horror as space itself began to change around his fleet. The stars that had been in fixed positions for millions of years started to move, not in straight lines like ships or planets, but in impossible spirals that made his eyes hurt to follow. "Science officer!" he shouted over the alarm sounds filling his bridge. "What's happening?" The response came back filled with panic. "Admiral, our instruments can't make sense of the readings. It's like the humans have taken control of physics itself." Before Crix could respond, a new voice came through their communication system. It was calm, professional, and completely terrifying in its confidence. "Admiral Crix, this is Colonel Ben Harris, Sol Defense Grid. Please remain calm. You are not in immediate danger, but you are now inside our space. We control everything here." Crix found his voice. "What have you done? This is impossible." "Impossible is a word we stopped using 50 years ago," Harris replied. "You wanted to observe human space, now you're part of it. Welcome to the Darwin Project." On the human command ship Harbinger, Colonel Harris stood before a wall of screens showing the trapped alien fleet. Around him, his crew worked with the quiet efficiency that had become the hallmark of evolved humanity. "Dr. Williams," he called to the scientist at the central station, "are our guests ready for the full demonstration?" Dr. Kate Williams looked up from her controls. She had spent 30 years working on the Darwin Project, watching humanity transform itself into something unprecedented in galactic history. Today, she would finally show the universe what they had accomplished. "All systems are green, Colonel. The aliens are completely contained within our field. They can observe but not interfere." Harris nodded. "Then let's show them what we've become. Activate Phase 1. Throughout human space, installations that had been dormant for decades began to wake up. These weren't weapons or shields in any traditional sense. They were something far more fundamental. Tools that could reshape the basic laws of reality within a defined area. On his trapped ship, Admiral Crix watched as human vessels began to appear around his fleet. But these ships were like nothing in any database. They seemed to change shape as he watched, adapting to conditions in real time. "Admiral," his communications officer called, "I'm receiving data streams from the human ships. They're sharing information with us." "What kind of information?" "Everything, sir. Their history, their technology, their philosophy. It's like they want us to understand what we're seeing." Crix authorized the data transfer, though every instinct told him it was a trap. As the information flowed into his ship's computers, he began to understand the true scope of what humanity had accomplished. Dr. Williams's voice came through the communications system, speaking directly to the alien fleet. "Admiral Crix, what you're seeing is the result of 50 years of focused evolution. When we first met your species, we realized something important. We were not ready to be part of galactic civilization." "Why not?" Crix asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. "Because we were still limited by what we thought was possible. Your species, all the species in the Confederation, had reached a comfortable level of advancement and stopped growing. You had achieved peace by accepting limitations. On the Harbinger, Commander Alex Turner stepped forward. He was the pilot of humanity's most advanced ship, but more than that, he was an example of what humans had become. His reflexes were faster than any natural creature. His mind could process information at speeds that would overwhelm most computers. Yet he still retained the curiosity and determination that made humans unique. "Show them the cities, Turner," suggested Dr. Williams smiled and activated another set of displays. Throughout human space, the alien fleet could now see human settlements. But these weren't cities in any traditional sense. They were living, growing structures that adapted to their inhabitants' needs in real time. "This is impossible," Crix whispered. "You keep using that word," said General Rick Stone as his image appeared on Crix's screen. Stone was the supreme commander of human space forces, and looking at him, Crix could see something that chilled him to his core. This wasn't just a human anymore. This was something that had evolved beyond normal limitations while somehow remaining fundamentally human. "General Stone," Crix said, trying to keep his voice steady. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing," Stone replied simply. "We don't want your territory. We don't want your resources. We don't want to rule your people. We just want to be left alone to continue growing." "Then why show us this? Why reveal your capabilities?" Dr. Williams answered. "Because isolation only works if others respect it. For 50 years, your Confederation has wondered why we withdrew from galactic society. You've created myths and legends about us. You've feared us without understanding us." She gestured to the displays showing human achievements. "Today, you learn the truth. We didn't withdraw out of fear or hatred. We withdrew because we knew what we could become, and we weren't sure the galaxy was ready for it." Commander Turner stepped closer to his communication console. "Every human child today can do things that would have been considered superhuman 50 years ago. Every human worker has capabilities that exceed your military elites. Every human scientist can process information at speeds that would burn out your most advanced computers." "But you're still human?" Crix asked. "More human than ever," General Stone replied. "We haven't lost our core nature. We've just removed the artificial limits that biology and technology once imposed on us." The data streams continued to flow, showing the aliens exactly how humanity had transformed itself. They had not just advanced their technology, they had evolved their biology, enhanced their psychology, and restructured their entire civilization around the principle of continuous improvement. The Darwin Project wasn't just about making better humans, Dr. Williams explained. It was about creating a species that could adapt to any challenge, survive any threat, and solve any problem. We became what we needed to become. Admiral Crix felt a deep fear settling in his chest. "And what did you need to become?" General Stone's image flickered as he smiled, and for a moment, Crix saw something in that smile that made him understand why no species had dared challenge humanity. "We became the species that stands between the galaxy and everything that wants to destroy it. We became the immune system of civilization itself." "What does that mean?" Crix asked. "It means, Admiral, that while your people have been focused on maintaining peace and stability, we've been preparing for war. Not war against you, but war against the things that are coming. The threats that exist beyond the edge of known space. The dangers that your comfortable civilizations aren't equipped to handle," Dr. Williams added. "We've been monitoring signals from the galactic rim for decades. There are things out there that would end your Confederation in a matter of months. Ancient machines that consume entire star systems. Hostile intelligences that view all biological life as a disease to be cured." "Why haven't you warned us?" Crix demanded. "Because you wouldn't have believed us," Stone replied. "And because you couldn't have done anything about it anyway, but we can." Commander Turner moved to the front of his bridge. "In approximately 10 years, the first wave will reach Confederation space. When it does, you'll understand why we needed to become what we are. You'll understand why we've spent 50 years turning ourselves into something capable of fighting the impossible." The displays around Admiral Crix's ship suddenly changed, showing vast, dark shapes moving through space beyond the galactic rim, things that blotted out stars and consumed everything in their path. "This is what's coming," General Stone said quietly. "This is why no one dares cross into human space, not because we're hostile, but because we're the only thing standing between." the galaxy in total extinction. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Creeks and his fleet alone with the horrifying truth. Humanity hadn't withdrawn from galactic civilization out of fear or aggression. They had withdrawn to become the galaxy's last line of defense against threats that no one else even knew existed. Admiral Crick stared at the dark shapes on his screen for a long time before finding his voice. "How long have you known about these things?" 37 years, came the reply from Dr. Sam Roberts, who appeared on the communication screen. Unlike the military officers, Roberts looked like what the aliens expected a human to look like. Older, calmer, wearing simple clothes. But when he spoke, his words carried the weight of someone who had spent decades thinking about impossible problems. "We detected the first signals when we were upgrading our deep space sensors," Roberts continued. "At first, we thought they were natural phenomena. Pulsars maybe, or some kind of stellar collapse. Then we realized the patterns were too organized, too purposeful." Captain Nina Foster stepped into view beside Roberts. She commanded the human ship Nemesis, one of the vessels that had appeared around the alien fleet. Like all the humans they had seen, she moved with a confidence that seemed unnatural to alien eyes. "Dr. Roberts," she said, "should we show them the recordings?" Roberts nodded. "They need to understand what we're dealing with." The screens around Admiral Cricks's ship filled with images from deep space. At first they showed normal star fields, then slowly the stars began to disappear. Not exploding or collapsing, just gone, as if something was consuming them one by one. "This is the Helix arm, about 15,000 light-years from here," Roberts explained. "Over the past 30 years, we've watched 17 star systems just vanish, complete consumption. No debris, no energy signature, nothing." Cricks felt his scales crawl. "What could do that?" "We call them devourers," Foster replied. "We don't know what they are exactly. Machines, maybe? Or something that was once alive and became something else? What we do know is that they're headed this way." A new figure appeared on the screen. Sergeant Mike Davis looked like he should have been a normal human soldier, but as Cricks watched, Davis did something that made the alien admiral's eyes widen in shock. He lifted a piece of metal that should have weighed several tons, twisted it into a new shape with his bare hands, then set it down gently. "Don't be alarmed," Roberts said, noticing Cricks's reaction. "Sergeant Davis is demonstrating enhanced human capabilities. Physical strength is just one aspect of what we've become." "That's impossible," Cricks whispered. Davis smiled, and it was a surprisingly warm expression. "Admiral, with respect, we stopped believing in impossible a long time ago. When you're facing the end of everything you care about, you find ways to become whatever you need to be." Dr. Carol Jensen stepped forward, her hands glowing with some kind of energy field. "Admiral Cricks, may I explain what you're seeing? I'm a bioengineer. I helped design the modifications that make our current capabilities possible." Cricks nodded, though he wasn't sure he wanted to hear the answer. 50 years ago, humans were limited by biology," Jensen began. "We could only process so much information, move so fast, lift so much weight. We had maximum lifespans, maximum learning capacity, maximum everything." She gestured to the humans around her. "We removed those maximums, not by replacing our humanity, but by enhancing it. Every human today has the processing power of your most advanced computers, the physical capabilities of your strongest warriors, and the lifespan to actually use these gifts." "But you're still human?" Cricks asked. Dr. Roberts stepped forward, again. "That's the important part, Admiral. We didn't lose our humanity in becoming more than human. We became more human than ever." To demonstrate, Roberts pulled up recordings of human society. Cricks expected to see military installations and weapons factories. Instead, he saw children playing games that required impossible coordination, artists creating works that seemed to bend reality, families gathering for meals that lasted for hours of complex conversation. "We still love," Roberts said simply. "We still dream. We still make mistakes and learn from them. We still care about each other and about life itself. We just do all of it on a scale that would have been unimaginable to our ancestors, Captain." Foster activated another display. Admiral, would you like to see what human space really looks like? Not the defensive installations, but the places where we actually live. The screen showed a human city, but it was unlike anything in Crix's experience. Buildings that changed shape based on the needs of their inhabitants. Parks where the plants and animals had been enhanced to create living art. Transportation systems that moved people through three-dimensional space as easily as walking. This is beautiful, Crix admitted. It's also completely functional, Foster replied. Every citizen in that city could, if necessary, become a soldier capable of fighting threats that would destroy your most advanced military units. Every child has the education equivalent of your greatest scholars. Every worker has the creativity of your finest artists. Sergeant Davis added, but more than that, Admiral, every human has something your people seem to have lost. We still believe we can get better. We still think tomorrow can be better than today. Dr. Jensen nodded. That's what we call the human condition. It's not just our biology or our technology. It's our refusal to accept that anything is impossible. It's our belief that there's always a way forward, always a solution, always hope. Even facing these devourers? Crix asked. Especially facing the devourers, Roberts replied. Your confederation has achieved peace by avoiding conflict. You've created stability by accepting limitations. When you encounter a problem you can't solve, you work around it or ignore it. And humans? Crix already knew the answer, but he had to ask. We solve it, Foster said simply. No matter how long it takes, no matter what we have to become, no matter what we have to sacrifice, we find a way. The display changed again, showing human research facilities working on projects that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Scientists who could think at impossible speeds. Engineers who could build machines that operated on principles Crix didn't understand. For 37 years we've been preparing, Dr. Jensen explained. Not just building weapons or ships, but becoming the kind of species that can face the impossible and win. What if you're wrong? Crix asked. What if these devourers are too powerful even for you? The humans on the screen exchanged glances, and for a moment, Crix saw something in their expressions that chilled him. Not fear, but absolute determination. Then we'll become something even more than we are now. Sergeant Davis said quietly. We'll evolve again. We'll adapt. We'll find a way. Dr. Roberts stepped closer to the camera. Admiral, that's what your people don't understand about us. You see our power and think we're dangerous. You're right, we are dangerous, but we're dangerous to the things that threaten life, not to life itself. How can we be sure? Crix asked. Captain Foster smiled, and it was the same warm expression they had seen from Davis. Because in 50 years of incredible power, we've never once used it against another species. We've never expanded beyond our agreed borders. We've never demanded tribute or submission from anyone. Instead, Roberts added, we've spent 5 decades preparing to die for people who don't even know we're protecting them. That's the human condition, Admiral. We don't seek to conquer, we seek to preserve. We don't want to rule the galaxy, we want to save it. The transmission paused, and Crix realized the humans were giving him time to process what he'd learned. Around him, his crew sat in stunned silence, trying to understand what they had witnessed. Finally, Dr. Roberts spoke again. Admiral, you came here to learn why no one dares cross into human space. Now you know. It's not because we're hostile. It's because we're the last line of defense against things that would end everything you've ever known. And we're about to find out if 50 years of preparation will be enough. The alarm started 3 days later. Admiral Crix was still in human space, still trying to understand everything he had learned, when his communications officer called out in panic. Admiral! Multiple fleets approaching human territory from all directions. Crix rushed to his sensor station. The display showed dozens of ships from different Confederation species. Saurian attack fleets, ethereal research vessels, even the massive warships of the usually peaceful crystals. They were all heading toward human space. Admiral, came Captain Morrison's voice from the human station Cerberus. We know about the other fleets. We've been tracking them since they left their homeworlds. How is that possible? Crix asked. Some of those ships only launched yesterday. We have our ways, Morrison replied calmly. The real question is, are you going to help us handle this situation, or are you going to be part of the problem? Before Crix could answer, a new voice filled his bridge. It was warm, but carried absolute authority. Admiral Crix, this is President Dan Clark of the Human Coalition. We need to talk. The image that appeared on Crix's screen showed a man who looked completely ordinary. President Clark could have been any middle-aged human from the old days, but his eyes held depths that spoke of experience beyond normal understanding. Mr. President, Crix said carefully, my government didn't authorize these other fleets. We know, Clark replied. Each species made their own decision to investigate human space. The Saurians want to test our defenses. The Ethereals want to study our technology. The crystals are afraid we're planning to attack someone. Clark paused, looking directly at Crix through the screen. They're all making the same mistake you made, Admiral. They think this is about them. What do you mean? Admiral Sarah Brooks? Show him! A new figure appeared beside President Clark. Admiral Brooks wore a simple uniform, but something about her presence made Crix instinctively straighten up. This was someone who had commanded forces beyond imagination. Admiral Crix, Brooks said, while your various fleets have been approaching our territory, we've been detecting something else. Look at these readings. The display filled with sensor data that made Crix's blood run cold. The dark shapes they had seen before were moving faster now. Much faster. What the humans had said would take 10 years was going to happen in 10 months. The Devourers have accelerated, Brooks explained. Something has made them change course toward inhabited space. Our best analysis suggests they detected the energy signatures from all these fleets moving around. President Clark stepped forward. Admiral, the invasion you and your allies are planning isn't going to happen, because in about 6 hours we're all going to be too busy fighting for our lives. 6 hours? Crix whispered. The lead elements of the Devourer fleet just entered our sensor range, said Dr. Tony Mitchell as he joined the conversation. We're activating the integration protocol. What's that? Crix asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. It's how we bring the rest of the galaxy up to speed, President Clark replied. Admiral, you and every ship in your various fleets are about to receive a complete download of human technology, tactics, and capabilities. We're going to turn your people into something that can help us fight. Commander Lisa Park stepped into view. Unlike the others, she looked exactly like what Crix expected a diplomat to look like. Professional, calm, reassuring. But her next words were anything but reassuring. The integration protocol will enhance your ships, your weapons, and your people to approximately 10% of human capability, Park explained. It's not permanent and it's not comfortable, but it's the only way you'll survive what's coming. You're going to change us? Crix asked in horror. Temporarily, President Clark said, with your permission. We won't force this on anyone, but Admiral, look at your screens. Look at what's heading toward your homeworlds. Then decide if you want to face it with your current capabilities. Crix looked at the sensor readings again. The Devourer fleet was massive. Ships the size of moons moving in formations that stretched across light years. Behind them came something even worse, a darkness that seemed to consume space itself. How many? He asked quietly. 17,000 capital ships in the first wave, Admiral Brooks replied. We estimate about 4 million smaller vessels, and something we're calling a void bringer. It's approximately the size of a small planet and appears to be some kind of command structure. How many ships do you have? 312, Brooks said simply. Crix stared at her. That's impossible. You can't fight 17,000 ships with 300. Admiral, President Clark said gently, you're still thinking in terms of normal ships and normal tactics. We stopped being normal 50 years ago. Dr. Mitchell activated new displays. The integration protocol isn't just about upgrading your technology. It's about showing you how to think differently, how to see solutions where you once saw only problems. What do you need us to do? Crix asked. Commander Park smiled. Help us save the galaxy, Admiral. Help us show the universe that life is worth fighting for. The transformation began immediately. Admiral Crix felt his mind expand as human knowledge flowed into his consciousness. His ship's systems upgraded themselves in real time. Around him, his crew changed as their capabilities grew beyond anything they had thought possible. But more than that, Crix began to understand. He saw how humans thought, how they approached problems, how they refused to accept defeat. For the first time in his life, he felt what it was like to believe that any challenge could be overcome. "Admiral," came Brooks' voice, "your fleet is now integrated with our defensive network. You're about to see what human space really is." The stars around them began to move again, but this time Crix understood what was happening. Human space wasn't just territory defended by ships. It was a weapon system the size of a solar system, designed to fight threats that normal civilizations couldn't even imagine. "All Confederation fleets, this is President Clark," came the broadcast to every approaching ship. "You came here to investigate human space. Instead, you're going to help us defend it. In 30 minutes, the greatest threat in galactic history will arrive. When it does, you'll understand why we needed 50 years to prepare, and why we spent that time becoming something worthy of the trust you're about to place in us." Admiral Crix felt the integration protocol complete its work. He was still himself, still Mentari, but now he could think at speeds that would have burned out his brain hours before. He could see tactical solutions that had been invisible moments ago. He could understand weapons that operated on principles his species had never discovered. "Admiral Brooks," he said, surprised by the confidence in his own voice, "what are your orders?" "Simple, Admiral," Brooks replied. "We're going to show these devourers something they've never encountered before. We're going to show them what happens when life refuses to give up." President Clark's final transmission went out to every ship in the growing fleet. "To all vessels, human and alien alike. Today we find out if 50 years of preparation was enough. Today we discover whether one species' refusal to accept the impossible can save an entire galaxy. Today no one fights alone." As the Devourer fleet emerged from the darkness between stars, Admiral Crix realized that everything had changed. The aliens had come to human space to investigate a mystery. Instead, they had become part of the solution to the greatest crisis in galactic history. And for the first time since he had entered human space, Admiral Crix wasn't afraid, because now he understood what the humans had been trying to tell him all along. Sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to become something greater than what you were. And sometimes that transformation changes not just you, but everyone around you. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin, and this time life was going to fight back. Admiral Sarah Chen gripped the armrests of her command chair as another explosion rocked the bridge. Red warning lights flashed across every screen. The main display showed what remained of Earth's defense fleet, and the sight made her stomach turn. 47 ships had stood against the Krell invasion just 12 hours ago. Now only 19 were still fighting. "Another platform destroyed," Lieutenant Morrison reported from his station. His voice stayed calm, but his hands shook. "That's Orbital Defense Platform 7. All guns silent." Sarah nodded slowly. She had watched each platform die, one after another. Giant structures that had taken years to build, gone in seconds under Krell fire. Each explosion meant hundreds of people dead. Each loss meant Earth was one step closer to complete destruction. The enemy fleet filled the space beyond Earth like a swarm of angry insects. 300 Krell warships, each one bristling with weapons. Their dark hulls absorbed light, making them look like holes in space. The Krell had conquered 17 star systems before coming to Earth. They crushed every resistance they found. They showed no mercy. "Status of the Valiant?" Sarah asked. Morrison checked his screen. "Heavy damage. Captain Rodriguez says they can fight for maybe another hour. After that, their reactor will fail." Sarah closed her eyes for just a moment. The Valiant was one of their newest ships. If it was dying, the older vessels were probably in worse shape. She opened her eyes and studied the tactical display. Every ship she saw represented friends, people she had trained with, eaten with, laughed with. Now they were all going to die together. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the Krell flagship," the communications officer said. "Put it on screen." The display changed. Warlord Thexkar appeared, his 4 eyes gleaming with cold satisfaction. The Krell commander stood over 8 feet tall, his armored body covered in scars from 1,000 battles. He had earned each scar by destroying entire civilizations. Human Admiral, Thexkar said in perfect English. The Krell always learned the languages of those they conquered. It made the surrender demands more personal. Your resistance is entertaining but pointless. We have destroyed the Velen Confederation. We have crushed the Torth Empire. Your primitive fleet cannot stop us. Sarah stood up from her chair. She would not sit while facing this monster. Then why are you talking to me instead of fighting? Thexkar's mouth opened in what might have been a smile. His teeth looked sharp enough to cut metal. Because I am not wasteful. You have fought well for primitives. You have destroyed 7 of my ships. That is more than most species manage. I offer you one chance. Surrender now. Your people will become workers in the Dominion. Your soldiers will serve in our armies. You will live as slaves, but you will live. And if we refuse, then in 6 hours, nothing will remain of your species except dust and memories. We will burn your planet until the oceans boil. We will crack your moon into pieces. We will erase every trace that humans ever existed. Thexkar leaned closer to the camera. This is not a threat. This is a promise. I have done this before. I will do it again. Sarah felt the eyes of every person on the bridge watching her. Down on Earth, billions of people huddled in underground shelters hoping their military could save them. In the fleet, thousands of sailors waited for her decision. The weight of their lives pressed down on her shoulders like a physical force. I need to consult with Earth's government, Sarah said. You have 6 hours, not 1 second more. The transmission ended. The bridge stayed silent for a long moment. Then Morrison spoke up. Admiral, we could evacuate some people. The colony ships in lunar orbit could hold maybe 1 million people. We could send them away, hope they find somewhere safe. And abandon 8 billion others? Sarah shook her head. No, we fight. Ma'am, with respect, we cannot win this fight. Their fleet is too large. Our weapons barely scratch their shields. Sarah walked to the main viewport. Earth hung below them, blue and beautiful. She could see the lights of cities, dimmed now to reduce targeting options. She could see the clouds swirling over oceans where she had learned to swim as a child. Every person down there was counting on her to save them, and she had no idea how. I know we cannot win, Sarah said quietly. But we can make them pay for every inch of space they take. We can show them that humans do not surrender. We can fight so hard that other species hear about it. Maybe somewhere someone else will learn from our example. Maybe our death will inspire others to resist. She turned back to face her crew. Send a message to all ships. We fight to the last. We make them remember us. We show the galaxy what humans are made of. Morrison saluted. Yes, ma'am. The next 5 hours passed in a blur of violence. The human fleet attacked in waves, using every tactic they knew. They rammed damaged ships into Krell vessels. They set traps in asteroid fields. They fired every missile, every torpedo, every bullet they had. The Krell fleet took losses, but it was like throwing stones at a mountain. For every Krell ship destroyed, Earth lost 3. The Valiant exploded at hour 4, taking a Krell destroyer with it. The Beijing went silent at hour 5. Its crew dead, but its reactors still burning, drifting through space like a tomb. The Mumbai tried to retreat with its engines damaged and was cut in half by Krell plasma fire. Sarah watched it all. She gave orders in a steady voice even as her heart broke. She coordinated the defense even knowing it was hopeless. She was still fighting when the 6-hour deadline arrived. Thexkar appeared on screen again. Your time is over, human. You chose death, so be it. All ships, target Earth's surface. Begin planetary bombardment. The Krell fleet moved into position, their weapons charged, ready to rain fire on the planet below. Sarah stood on her bridge waiting for the end. Then every sensor on every ship suddenly screamed warnings at the same time. Admiral, Morrison shouted. Contact. Unknown vessel just entered the system. Where? Show me. The tactical display updated. Something big had appeared at the edge of the battlefield, moving impossibly fast. It had just stopped, sitting in space like it was watching. Can you identify it? Sarah asked. Negative. Sensors cannot get a clear reading. It's like nothing in our database. It's not Krell, it's not Velen. It's not any known species. Sarah stared at the unknown contact. For the first time in hours, she felt something other than despair. She felt hope, tiny and fragile, but real. Try to hail them, she ordered. Morrison worked his controls. No response, ma'am. On the display, part of the Krell fleet broke away, 20 ships heading toward the unknown vessel. Thexkar's voice came over the command channel. Eliminate that contact. Nothing interferes with the Dominion. Sarah watched the Krell squadron approach the mysterious vessel. She held her breath. Then something impossible happened. The unknown vessel decloaked. The ship that appeared before them looked like nothing Sarah had ever seen. It was massive, easily twice the size of the largest Krell battleship. But size was not what made her stare. It was the design. The hull was covered in patches, repairs, and modifications. It looked like someone had been rebuilding the ship for centuries, adding pieces from a dozen different sources. Weapons bristled from every surface, but they were all different types, different styles, as if collected over a long journey. Strange symbols covered the armor plating. Sarah squinted at them, trying to make sense of what she saw. "My God," Morrison whispered. "Those markings. Some of them are in English." "What?" Sarah leaned forward. "Show me a close-up." The screen zoomed in on the hull. Morrison was right. Among the strange alien symbols there were human letters, but something was wrong with them. Some were in languages Sarah recognized. Others looked ancient, like something from a museum. "That section there," Morrison pointed. "That's modern English. But that part over there, that looks like Old Chinese. And there, I think that's ancient Sanskrit." "That's impossible," Sarah said. "No human ship has those languages together." "That would require—" "Admiral, the Krell squadron is engaging." Sarah snapped her attention back to the tactical display. 20 Krell ships surrounded the unknown vessel. Weapons charged. They fired as one, a devastating barrage that should have turned any ship into vapor. The mysterious ship's shields flared bright blue. The Krell weapons hit and scattered like rain on stone. Not a single shot got through. "Shields holding at 100%, Morrison reported, his voice full of shock. "That's impossible. Our best shields would have failed under half that firepower." The unknown ship did not return fire. It just sat there, absorbing the punishment. The Krell fired again and again. Each time the shields held perfectly. Then something changed. Every sensor on the Krell ship suddenly went dark. Sarah could see it on her displays. The Krell squadron went completely blind, their targeting systems offline, their communications dead. "What just happened?" Sarah asked. "Some kind of electronic warfare attack," Morrison said. "But I've never seen anything like it. It's like that ship just reached out and turned off everything electronic in the Krell vessels." The mysterious ship began to move. It glided between the blind Krell ships like a shark among fish. As it passed each one, it fired a single shot, just one. Each shot punched through Krell shields and armor like they were paper. Each shot destroyed a ship completely. In less than 30 seconds, all 20 Krell vessels were drifting debris. Sarah's mouth hung open. The entire bridge had gone silent, everyone staring at the display. One ship had just destroyed a Krell squadron without taking a scratch. One ship had done what Earth's entire fleet could not. "Who are they?" Morrison asked. Before Sarah could answer, the communications console beeped. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission. It's from the unknown vessel." "Put it through." Static filled the speakers. Then a voice came through, speaking English. But the accent was strange. Old-fashioned, like someone from centuries ago trying to speak a modern language. "Earth vessel Indomitable, this is the colony ship Exodus. Please respond." Sarah's heart skipped. "Colony ship?" "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Fleet. Exodus, please identify yourself. What colony are you from?" A pause. Then, "Admiral Chen, this is Captain Marcus Vale, commanding officer of the Exodus. We departed from Earth 800 years ago. We are coming home." The bridge erupted in confused voices. Morrison turned to Sarah, his face pale. "Admiral, 800 years ago there was a colony mission. The first one. But they disappeared. The ship was called the Exodus. It was lost with all hands. 10,000 colonists gone without a trace." Sarah remembered now. Every schoolchild learned about the lost Exodus. It was a tragedy that had haunted humanity for centuries. The first attempt to reach the stars, and it had simply vanished. "Captain Vale," Sarah said slowly, "if you are who you claim to be, then you need to explain how you survived for 800 years. And how you found your way back," the transmission crackled. "It's a long story, Admiral. The short version is that we encountered a spatial anomaly 3 months into our journey. It threw us across the galaxy, thousands of light years from Earth. We tried to find our way home, but we had no maps, no way to navigate. We were alone in unknown space." Sarah listened, hardly breathing. Around the bridge, everyone had stopped working to hear this. "We found a planet to settle on," Vale continued, "but it was already occupied. The species there were hostile. We fought them off barely. Then we moved on, looking for a safe world. But everywhere we went, we found enemies. species that attacked on sight, empires that wanted to enslave us, pirates who saw us as easy prey. Vale's voice grew harder. For 800 years, Admiral, we have been fighting. Not because we wanted to, but because we had to. We learned to fight better than anyone. We took weapons from the species we defeated. We learned their technologies. We adapted. We survived. How many of you are left? Sarah asked. 50,000. We are all descendants of the original colonists. For 80 generations, we have kept our culture alive. We remembered Earth. We remembered where we came from. Every child born on the Exodus was taught about their home world, even though none of us had ever seen it. Sarah felt tears forming in her eyes. How did you find us? We intercepted Krell communications 3 months ago. They were boasting about their planned invasion of Earth. When we heard that name, we knew we had to act. We traced their route back, pushed our engines beyond safety limits, and came as fast as we could. Vale paused. We may have been gone a long time, Admiral, but Earth is still home, and nobody threatens our home. Sarah looked at the main display, where the Krell fleet still sat in formation, preparing to bombard Earth. Then she looked at the Exodus, this impossible ship crewed by the descendants of people who refused to give up hope. Captain Vale, the Krell have given us an ultimatum, surrender or die. They have 300 ships. We have less than 20 left. We know, Vale said. We've been monitoring. That's why we came. Admiral Chen, request permission to join your defense fleet. Sarah almost laughed. One ship, even one as powerful as the Exodus, could not stop 300 Krell vessels. But then again, she had just watched that one ship destroy 20 Krell in seconds. Permission granted, Captain. Welcome home. Now let's show these bastards what humans can do. Understood, Admiral. Exodus moving to attack position. And Admiral, we brought something for you. Transmitting our combat database now. Everything we learned in 800 years of warfare, share it with your fleet. You're going to need it. Data flooded into the Indomitable's computers. Morrison's eyes went wide as he scanned it. Admiral, this is incredible. Tactical maneuvers, weapon modifications, shield configurations. There are thousands of battle reports here, strategies against species we've never even heard of. Sarah watched as the Exodus moved to join her fleet. The massive ship positioned itself at the front of the formation, directly between Earth and the Krell. On the Krell flagship, Warlord Thexkar must have been watching. His voice came over the communications channel full of rage. What is this? What primitive trick are you trying? Sarah smiled. For the first time in hours, she smiled. No trick, Warlord. Just some old friends coming home. You wanted to see what humans are made of. You're about to find out. The Krell fleet moved first. Warlord Thexkar had not conquered 17 star systems by hesitating. His ships formed into attack wings, each group targeting different sections of the human defense line. Standard Krell tactics, overwhelming force applied to break the enemy formation. But something was different this time. The Exodus sat at the center of the human fleet, and the combat data it had shared was already being uploaded to every surviving Earth ship. Tactical displays updated with new information. Weapons officers received instructions on Krell weak points that Earth's military had never known existed. Shield operators learned frequency modifications that could deflect Krell plasma fire more effectively. All ships, this is Admiral Chen, Sarah broadcast to the fleet. New tactical data is now in your systems. Study it fast. We're about to put it to use. Morrison, coordinate with Captain Vale. I want our attack synchronized. Yes, ma'am. The first wave of Krell ships came in fast, 40 vessels in tight formation. They had done this 1,000 times before. Overwhelmed the enemy with concentrated fire, break their formation, then pick off the survivors. It had worked against every species they had faced. The Exodus did not move to meet them. Instead, it powered up weapons that Earth's sensors had trouble identifying. The ship seemed to bristle with energy as multiple systems came online at once. Captain Vale is hailing all ships, Morrison reported. Vale's voice came through calm and steady. Earth fleet, when we fire, you fire. Target the ships we mark. Don't waste shots on heavy armor. Aim for the weak points in their shield generators. The data we sent you shows exactly where to hit. Sarah watched the Krell ships close the distance. 5,000 kilometers. 4,000. 3,000. Fire, Vale said. The Exodus unleashed hell. A dozen different weapon types fired at once. Plasma cannons, railguns, energy beams, and weapons Sarah did not recognize. Each shot was perfectly aimed. The Krell shields, which had seemed impenetrable before, collapsed under the precise targeting. Ships exploded or went dark, their systems fried. The Earth fleet fired in sync following the Exodus's lead. Sarah watched as the Beijing's replacement, the New Mumbai, landed shots that punched through a Krell cruiser's shields. The destroyer Wellington, barely holding together, managed to cripple a Krell frigate with a missile strike that hit exactly where Vale's data said it would. The first Krell wave lost half its ships in seconds. The survivors scattered, breaking formation. "Impossible," Morrison whispered. "We just destroyed 20 Krell ships, in one volley." But there was no time to celebrate. The second wave was already coming, this time with 60 ships. Thexkar had committed more forces, adjusting to the threat. "Exodus to Indomitable," Vale's voice came through. "Admiral, we're going to do something you've probably never seen before. Don't be alarmed." "What are you—" The Exodus suddenly accelerated, not the slow burn of conventional engines, but instant speed that defied physics. One moment it was at the center of the formation. The next, it was in the middle of the incoming Krell wave. "How is that possible?" Morrison shouted. "No ship can move like that." The Exodus spun like a dancer, weapons firing in all directions. Krell ships exploded around it. Those that tried to return fire found their shots hitting empty space. The Exodus moved too fast, too unpredictably. It was like watching a wolf in a flock of sheep. Sarah realized what she was seeing. This was not a military vessel designed to fight in formation. This was a survival ship, built to fight alone against overwhelming odds. For 800 years, the Exodus had been outnumbered in every battle. They had learned to fight in ways no formal military would ever develop. "All ships, advance," Sarah ordered. "Support the Exodus. Use the targeting data." The Earth fleet surged forward. The battle became chaos, ships weaving between each other, weapons fire lighting up space. But now the chaos favored humanity. Every Earth captain was applying centuries of hard-won combat experience thanks to the Exodus's database. Captain Rodriguez on the Valiant managed to predict a Krell maneuver and set an ambush. 3 Krell destroyers flew right into a spread of torpedoes. The Wellington used a tactic from the database called ghost drift, shutting down all systems, to look dead, then firing at point-blank range when Krell ships came to investigate. But the Krell were not helpless. They adapted fast, using their numerical advantage to surround individual Earth ships. The carrier Toronto took heavy fire from 5 directions at once. Its shields collapsed, and atmosphere vented from a dozen hull breaches. "Toronto is going down," Morrison reported. "Exodus responding," someone said. The Exodus appeared next to the Toronto in that impossible instant movement. It positioned itself between the dying carrier and the Krell attackers. The massive ship took fire meant for the Toronto, shields flaring bright. "Captain Vale, your shields are at 60%, Sarah warned. "We've been through worse," Vale responded. His voice was tight but controlled. "Toronto, get your people to the escape pods. We'll cover you." The Toronto's crew abandoned ship while the Exodus held the line. Krell plasma fire hammered the shields again and again. 55%, 50%, 45%. "Vale, pull back," Sarah shouted. "Not yet. Not until every pod is away." Sarah watched helplessly as the Exodus's shields dropped to 40%, then 35%. The ship was taking damage now, armor plates scorching under Krell weapons. Finally, the last escape pod launched from the Toronto. "All clear," Vale said. "Exodus withdrawing." The ship vanished from its position and reappeared near the Indomitable. Sarah could see the damage now. Sections of the hull were blackened. Some weapons ports had been destroyed. But the ship was still fighting. "Damage report," Sarah asked. "Could be worse," Vale said. There was dark humor in his voice. "We once fought a species called the Zarth for 3 days straight without a break. This is nothing." Sarah looked at her tactical display. The battle had been going for 30 minutes. The Krell had lost 70 ships. Earth had lost 3 more vessels, but the Exodus had saved the crews. For the first time, humanity was inflicting more damage than they were taking, but there were still over 200 Krell ships left. Thexkar's voice came over the command channel. What is that ship? What species builds such a vessel? Sarah smiled coldly. That's a human ship, Warlord. The first humans to reach the stars. They've been fighting in the dark for 800 years and they just came home to save their planet. You picked the wrong species to threaten. Impossible. Humans are weak. We studied your military. Your technology is primitive. You studied Earth's military, Sarah corrected. You never met the colonists who learned to fight without support, without backup, without mercy. They learned from every species they fought, and now they're going to teach you what it means to threaten humanity. Thexkar's roar of rage came through the speakers. All ships, focus fire on that unknown vessel. Destroy it. I want nothing left but atoms. The entire Krell fleet turned toward the Exodus. 230 ships, all weapons charging. Enough firepower to glass a planet. Vale's voice came through, still calm. Admiral Chen, we're about to get hit hard. Request that Earth fleet use this distraction to hit them from the flanks. Use attack pattern Theta from the database. You'll be destroyed, Sarah protested. Maybe, Vale said. But probably not. We've survived worse odds. Trust us, Admiral. We know what we're doing. Sarah looked at Morrison. The young officer looked back at her, waiting for orders. She took a deep breath. All ships, execute attack pattern Theta. Hit them while they're focused on the Exodus. Make every shot count. The Krell fleet fired as one. A wall of plasma and missiles converged on the Exodus. The massive colony ship's shields flared so bright that Sarah had to look away from the screen. And somehow, impossibly, the shields held. The shields of the Exodus glowed like a small sun under the concentrated fire of 200 Krell warships. Every weapon in the enemy fleet poured destruction into that one point in space. It was enough energy to boil an ocean, crack a moon, burn through any known defensive system. But the Exodus did not break. Its shields bent, flickered, and strained, but they held. Sarah watched numbers scroll across her screen, shield strength dropping, but slowly. 70%, 65%, 60%. The ship was bleeding energy, but it was not dying. How are they doing that? Morrison asked in awe. 800 years of learning how to not die, Sarah said. They probably fought species with weapons 10 times worse than what the Krell have. This is just another day for them. While the Krell fleet focused everything on the Exodus, the Earth fleet struck. Following attack pattern Theta from the database, the human ships split into 3 groups and attacked from different angles. The pattern was brutal and efficient, designed by people who had fought countless battles against superior numbers. The destroyer Wellington and 2 frigates hit the Krell left flank. They targeted command ships, the vessels coordinating the fleet movements. Without warning, 3 Krell commanders found their ships exploding around them. The left flank broke formation, ships scattering in confusion. The cruiser New Delhi led the attack on the right flank. They used a maneuver called cascading failure, where they damaged one ship's reactor just enough to make it explode, and the explosion damaged nearby ships. It was a chain reaction tactic that required perfect precision. The New Delhi's crew executed it flawlessly. 7 Krell ships died in a spreading wave of destruction. Sarah took the Indomitable and 4 other ships straight up the middle. The Krell were so focused on the Exodus that they left their center weak. Sarah's group punched through like a knife through paper, firing at ship engines and life support systems. Not every shot needed to destroy a ship. Crippling it was enough. Vale, how are you holding up? Sarah called. Shields at 45%. Hull integrity at 80%. We have fires on 3 decks, but damage control has them contained. Vale's voice sounded strained now, but still steady. Keep hitting them, Admiral. We can take it. The Krell fleet began to realize their mistake. They had bunched up too tightly to attack the Exodus, and now they were vulnerable. Ships crashed into each other, trying to turn and face the Earth fleet. Some Krell commanders panicked and fired at anything that moved, hitting their own vessels as often as human ones. Thexkar's voice roared across all channels. Fools, maintain formation. Do not break. A missile from the Indomitable struck the Krell flagship's communication array. Thexkar's voice cut off mid-sentence. The Krell fleet lost its coordination completely. Now, Sarah shouted. All ships, maximum effort. Hit them while they're confused. The battle turned into a close-range brawl. Ships fired at each other from mere kilometers away. The Exodus, finally given relief as Krell ships turned to face new threats, went on the offensive. It moved through the enemy fleet like a predator, striking and vanishing, reappearing somewhere else to strike again. Its weapons never stopped firing. Sarah saw a Krell battleship trying to ram the Indomitable. She ordered evasive maneuvers, but the Krell ship was too close, too fast. Impact in 3 seconds. 2 seconds. 1 second, the Exodus appeared between them. The massive colony ship took the ram meant for the Indomitable. The collision tore a huge gash in the Exodus's side. Atmosphere vented into space. Debris flew in all directions. "Veil!" Sarah screamed, no response. The Exodus tumbled from the impact, spinning out of control. The Krell battleship that had rammed it backed away, preparing to fire at point-blank range into the wound it had created. Then the Exodus stopped spinning. Emergency thrusters fired, stabilizing the ship. And from the gash in its side, from the exposed interior where Sarah could see flames and destruction, weapons ports opened. The Exodus fired every gun it had directly into the Krell battleship. At that range, shields meant nothing. The Krell ship came apart like it was made of paper. "Exodus to Indomitable." Veil's voice came through, rough with pain. "We're okay. More or less. Lost 60 people in that section. But we're still in this fight." "Fall back, Captain," Sarah ordered. "You've done enough." "With respect, Admiral, no. We didn't cross the galaxy to hide when things got tough. Besides, these Krell are starting to annoy me." Despite everything, Sarah laughed. It was a short, half-hysterical sound, but it was real. "All ships cover the Exodus. They're damaged but still fighting. Let's show them they're not alone." The Earth fleet rallied around the wounded colony ship. The Valiant, barely operational, positioned itself to shield the Exodus's damaged side. The New Mumbai and Wellington formed a defensive screen. Other ships moved into protective formation without being ordered. They were protecting their own. The Krell tried to press their advantage, but their formation was broken, their communications disrupted, and their commanders were dead or confused. What should have been a coordinated attack became dozens of individual ship actions, each trying to do their own thing. The humans fought as one unified force, protecting each other, coordinating every move. The difference showed. Krell ships kept dying. The Earth fleet took damage, but they adapted, they adjusted, they survived. An hour into the battle, the Krell fleet had lost half its ships. The Earth fleet was down to 11 functional vessels, but those 11 fought like demons. And the Exodus, damaged and scarred, continued to tear through enemy ranks. "Admiral, the Krell are regrouping," Morrison reported. "They're pulling back to the edge of the system." Sarah watched the tactical display. The Krell ships were indeed withdrawing, forming a defensive formation at a safe distance. They had finally realized what they were up against. "Get me Thek's car," Sarah ordered. "Their flagship is still damaged, but communications are back online. Routing them through now." The Krell warlord appeared on screen. He looked different now. The arrogance was gone. In its place was something Sarah had never seen in a Krell before. Uncertainty. "You cannot win," Thekskar said, but his voice lacked conviction. "We still outnumber you." "You had 300 ships," Sarah replied. "Now you have what, 150? And you've seen what we can do. Every minute you stay here, you lose more ships. You came here expecting easy prey. Instead, you found humans who've been fighting in the dark for 8 centuries, and humans who refuse to let their home burn." She leaned forward, staring directly at the Krell commander. "You have a choice, Warlord. Keep fighting and lose everything, or retreat and live to report what you learned here today. What's it going to be?" Thexkar's 4 eyes studied her. Sarah could see him calculating, weighing options. He had not become a warlord by being stupid. He knew when a battle was lost. "This is not over," Thexkar said finally. "The Dominion will return. You have made a powerful enemy today." "We've had powerful enemies before." Veil's voice cut in. "We're still here." "They're not." The transmission ended. The Krell fleet began to withdraw, their ships jumping to faster than light speed one by one. In 10 minutes, the space around Earth was clear of enemy vessels. The battle was over. The command channel erupted in cheers. Every ship, every station, every person who had survived the impossible was celebrating. They had faced overwhelming odds and won. Earth was saved. Sarah slumped back in her chair, exhausted. "Morrison, casualty report." Morrison's face grew somber. 28 ships lost out of the original 47. Estimated 15,000 casualties in the fleet. But the evacuation procedures saved most of the crews. The Exodus took heavy damage. They're reporting 300 dead, twice that many wounded. 300 people dead. 15,000 total. The numbers felt unreal, too big to truly understand. Sarah closed her eyes, thinking of all the names she would need to remember, all the families she would need to visit. "Admiral," Morrison said quietly. "We won. Against all odds, we actually won." Sarah opened her eyes and looked at the main display. Earth hung there, safe and whole, and beside it, scarred and damaged but still proudly flying, was the Exodus, the lost colony that had found its way home after 800 years. The wanderers who had returned just in time to save their world. "Yes," Sarah said. "We won, and we're going to make sure everyone remembers how." 3 days after the battle, the Exodus entered orbit around Earth. The massive ship moved slowly, carefully, like it was afraid to get too close. Sarah watched from the observation deck of the Indomitable as the colony ship found its position and stopped, hanging in space like a mountain made of metal and hope. "They're requesting permission to send a shuttle to Earth," Morrison said. "Captain Vale and a delegation want to set foot on the planet," Sarah smiled. "Permission granted. Tell them to land at Cape Canaveral." That's where they launched from, 800 years ago. It seems fitting they return there. She watched the Exodus for another moment, then made a decision. "I'm going down too. I want to be there when they arrive." The shuttle ride down was quiet. Sarah used the time to review damage reports, casualty lists, and repair schedules. Earth's defense fleet was in terrible shape. It would take months to rebuild. But they would rebuild. They were alive to do it. Cape Canaveral was crowded when she arrived. News of the Exodus had spread across the planet in hours. People wanted to see the descendants of the lost colonists. They wanted to meet the heroes who had saved Earth. Security had set up barriers to keep the crowds back, but Sarah could feel the excitement in the air. The Exodus shuttle descended from the sky. It was scarred like the ship it came from, patched and repaired many times over. It landed with a hiss of hydraulics on the same pad where, 800 years ago, the colony ship had launched with dreams of a new world. The shuttle door opened. Captain Marcus Vale stepped out, and Sarah got her first look at the man who had saved her planet. He was tall, lean, with short dark hair turning gray at the temples. His face was lined with scars, and his eyes looked old, like they had seen too much. He wore a uniform that was part military, part improvised armor, nothing like the clean, standard uniforms Earth's military wore. Behind him came more people from the Exodus. Men and women of all ages, some with children. They looked like refugees and warriors at the same time. Hard people who had survived impossible things. They moved with caution, like they expected an attack at any moment, but their eyes were filled with wonder as they looked around. Vale saw Sarah and walked over. He saluted, his hand moving to his heart in a gesture she did not recognize. "Admiral Chen, thank you for having us." Sarah returned the salute in the standard Earth military fashion.
"Captain Vale, thank you for saving us."
"Without your ship, Earth would be dust right now." Vale looked uncomfortable with the praise. "We did what any human would do. Protect their home." He turned to look at the sky, then at the ocean beyond the spaceport. "I've seen this place in records and videos my whole life. My parents showed me. Their parents showed them. For 80 generations, we kept the memory of Earth alive. But being here, standing on actual ground, breathing actual air," his voice broke. "I never thought I would live to see this day." Sarah saw tears running down his face. Behind him, other members of the Exodus delegation were crying too, kneeling down to touch the ground, looking around in amazement. These were people who had been born on a ship, lived their entire lives in metal corridors, never knowing what it was like to feel wind or see an open sky. "Captain," Sarah said gently, "your people are home. For real this time." Vale wiped his eyes and nodded. "Home, yes." He took a deep breath, pulling himself together. "Admiral, we need to talk. Not just about the battle, but about what comes next." "I agree. Let's give your people a few minutes to experience Earth. Then we'll meet with the government." The meeting happened 2 hours later in a conference room that had been hastily prepared. Earth's president, military leaders, and scientific advisors on one side, Captain Vale and his senior officers on the other. Sarah sat between them, trying to bridge 800 years of separation. President Okafor spoke first. "Captain Vale, on behalf of Earth and all of humanity, thank you. Your arrival saved billions of lives. We are forever in your debt." Vale shook his head. "You owe us nothing, Mr. President. Earth is our home. We were just protecting what is ours. He leaned forward. But I need to be honest with you. The Krell will return. We hurt them badly, but we did not destroy them. They'll report back to their dominion, and next time they'll come with more ships better prepared. How long do we have? Okafor asked. Months, maybe a year. They'll need time to rebuild their fleet and plan, but they will come back. The Krell never forget a defeat. It's a matter of pride for them. The room fell silent. Sarah had expected this, but hearing it confirmed still felt like a weight on her shoulders. Then we prepare, Okafor said. We rebuild our fleet. We fortify our defenses, and this time we'll be ready. It's not enough, Vale said bluntly. Mr. President, with respect, Earth's technology is centuries behind what's out there. Your ships are good for fighting each other, but against real galactic powers like the Krell, you need better weapons, better shields, better everything. Are you offering to help? Sarah asked. Vale looked at her, then around the table at his officers. They nodded. He turned back to the Earth delegation. The Exodus has 50,000 people. We've been maintaining that ship and fighting for 800 years. We know things Earth has not had the chance to learn. We can share that knowledge. Help you upgrade your fleet, train your soldiers, prepare your defenses. In exchange for what? One of the military advisors asked suspiciously. In exchange for a home, Vale said simply. My people are tired, Admiral. We've been wandering the galaxy for 80 generations. We've been fighting for every scrap we have. We want to stop. We want to settle down, raise our children in peace, live normal lives. We're offering everything we know, everything we've learned in exchange for the right to come home. President Okafor did not hesitate. Captain Vale, you and your people are citizens of Earth. You have every right to be here. Your ship launched from this planet 800 years ago. As far as I'm concerned, you never stopped being part of humanity. You don't need to trade knowledge for the right to come home. That right is yours by birth. Vale stared at the president, clearly not expecting that answer. Thank you, sir. That said, Okafor continued with a slight smile. If you're willing to share your knowledge and help us prepare for the Krell's return, we would be grateful. We have a lot to learn from you. The meeting went on for hours, discussing plans and logistics. The Exodus would dock at Earth's orbital shipyards for major repairs. Teams of engineers from both Earth and the Exodus would work together, learning from each other. The combat database would be studied and integrated into Earth's military training. The Exodus colonists would be given the choice to settle on Earth or stay on their ship. As the meeting ended and people filed out, Sarah found herself walking with Vale. What will you do? She asked. After the ship is repaired, will you stay on board or come down to Earth? Vale was quiet for a moment. I don't know, he admitted. Part of me wants to retire, find a quiet place on some beach and never fight again. But another part knows that the Krell are coming back. My people and I were good at fighting. We might be the best fighters humanity has. It would be wrong to waste that when Earth needs defenders. You've done enough, Sarah said. You saved the world. No one could ask for more. Maybe, Vale said. But I've been fighting my whole life. I'm not sure I know how to do anything else. He looked at her with those old, tired eyes. What about you, Admiral? What happens now? Sarah thought about that. I rebuild the fleet. I train new crews. I prepare for the next battle. Because you're right, it's coming. And next time, we need to be ready. They reached the observation window that looked out over the ocean. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors of orange and red. Vale stared at it like he was trying to memorize every detail. Beautiful, he whispered. We have sunsets on the ship, simulated ones. But they're nothing like this. Captain, can I ask you something? Sarah said, Of course, and how did you keep going? 800 years of fighting, alone in the dark. How did your people not give up? Vale smiled, a sad but genuine expression. We remembered Earth. Every generation we told our children about the blue planet where humanity was born. About oceans and forests and mountains. About billions of people we'd never met but who were still family. We taught them that someday, somehow, we would find our way home. He turned to look at her. Hope, Admiral. That's how we survived. Hope that one day we would see this view. Sarah nodded, understanding. And now you have. Yes, Vale said. Now we have. And now we'll fight to protect it, not because we have to, but because we choose to, because this is worth fighting for. They stood there in comfortable silence, watching the sunset together, two soldiers from different times united by the same purpose. Behind them, through the building, they could hear the sounds of celebration. Earth was throwing a party for its returned children. The lost colony had come home. Somewhere out in the dark of space, the Krell were regrouping, planning their revenge. Other threats existed too, species and empires that Earth did not even know about yet. The galaxy was a dangerous place, full of enemies and challenges. But humanity had something now it had not had before. Unity. The idealism of Earth combined with the hard-won experience of the Exodus. Knowledge passed down through 80 generations of survivors. And